In the warm blue waters of the Caribbean Sea lies a small private island, surrounded by coral reefs, white sand, and thick tropical vegetation. From above it appears peaceful, even beautiful. Palm trees sway gently in the breeze, waves roll quietly onto the shore, and the island seems untouched by the chaos of the outside world. For years, it was presented as a secluded paradise. But beneath this image existed a reality far darker. This island is Little St. James, a place the world would later come to know as Epstein Island. Little St. James is located in the U.S. Virgin Islands, only a short boat ride from the island of St. Thomas. It measures roughly 70 acres, small enough to walk across in less than an hour, yet isolated enough to remain hidden from public attention for decades. In the late 1990s, the island was purchased by Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy financier whose public image was built on intelligence, influence, and elite connections. At the time, few outside powerful circles questioned how he had acquired his wealth or how he maintained his lifestyle. Epstein presented himself as a successful financial manager who advised billionaires, global institutions, and influential individuals. He cultivated relationships with politicians, royalty, academics, scientists, and celebrities. He donated large sums of money to universities and research programs, hosted intellectual gatherings, and positioned himself as a patron of science and progress. His wealth allowed him access to the most exclusive spaces in the world, and his confidence made him appear untouchable. Little St. James quickly became one of Epstein's most private properties. Unlike his mansions in New York, Florida, or New Mexico, the island offered total isolation. There were no neighbors, no casual visitors, and no public oversight. Access was tightly controlled. Boats and private aircraft arrived according to Epstein's schedule, and staff were carefully selected and instructed to maintain secrecy. Surveillance systems and security guards ensured that activities on the island remained unseen. Over time, Epstein transformed the island into a secluded compound designed for privacy and control. Luxury villas were built overlooking the ocean, while staff housing was hidden deeper within the trees. Private docks allowed boats to arrive unnoticed, and restricted zones were off-limits to most employees. One structure later drew global attention, a small domed building positioned on a hilltop. Its exact purpose was never clearly explained, adding to the mystery and secrecy that surrounded the island. To the outside world, the island was described as a private retreat, a place for rest and exclusive gatherings. But according to court records, investigations, and survivor testimonies, the island played a central role in a system of exploitation. Epstein targeted young girls, many from vulnerable backgrounds, using manipulation rather than force. Initial contact often involved promises of money, help with school, or opportunities in modeling or networking. What appeared harmless quickly became dangerous. Victims described a process of grooming where trust was slowly built and boundaries were deliberately broken. Some were flown to the island, removed from familiar environments, and placed in a setting where escape felt impossible. Surrounded by ocean, guarded by loyal staff, and controlled by Epstein's authority, they felt isolated and powerless. Survivors later spoke of fear, confusion, and psychological pressure that made resistance extremely difficult. The island's isolation was a critical tool. Communication with the outside world was limited, and victims often did not know where they were or how to leave. Epstein reinforced his control by implying that powerful people were involved and that speaking out would bring serious consequences. This atmosphere of fear ensured silence. This system relied on logistics and support. Private jets transported guests and victims between properties. Boats moved frequently between nearby islands. Employees followed instructions without asking questions. While not all staff understood the full extent of what was happening, the operation continued smoothly for years, protected by secrecy and influence. For many years, the activities connected to the island remained hidden from public view. Victims were often young, lacked financial resources, and feared retaliation. Some were told that no one would believe them, while others were given small payments that created confusion, shame, and silence. Epstein's public reputation as a wealthy and intelligent figure discouraged scrutiny, and early warning signs were ignored or dismissed. The silence began to break in the mid-2000s, when law enforcement in Florida received reports from victims and their families. As investigations progressed, multiple testimonies revealed similar patterns of abuse, recruitment, and control. Despite the growing evidence, Epstein's wealth allowed him to hire powerful legal representation. In 2008, the case ended in a highly controversial plea deal that allowed him to avoid federal prison and serve a limited sentence under unusually lenient conditions. After his release, Epstein returned to his lifestyle with little restriction. He continued traveling, meeting influential figures, and visiting his private island. For survivors, watching him live freely reinforced the belief that justice protected the powerful. Journalists and investigators, however, continued to pursue the story. Over time, more victims came forward. Civil lawsuits were filed, and hidden details began to surface. In 2019, Epstein was arrested again on federal charges related to sex trafficking minors. The arrest brought global attention to his network, properties, and private island. For the first time, it appeared that a full, public trial might expose the system that had protected him for years. But before the case could proceed, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. His death was ruled a suicide, yet failures in security and surveillance fueled widespread suspicion and distrust. With Epstein gone, the criminal case ended, leaving many questions unanswered. Little St. James Island was seized and searched by authorities, transforming it from a secretive retreat into a symbol of abuse and systemic failure. Today, the island stands as a reminder of what can happen when power, secrecy, and fear collide, and of the voices that were ignored for far too long.